When good news finally reaches a chosen one, somebody somewhere starts sweating like they're sitting under a courtroom spotlight. That's the thing people never admit out loud. Your victory doesn't just bless you, it exposes them. It rewrites conversations they already had about you. It interrupts stories they confidently told about where your life was supposed to end up. It snatches the script out of their hands and forces them to explain how you went from the underdog in their private group chats to the headline in your own life. And the funniest part? The same folks who once acted like you were barely holding it together are now pretending they've always believed in you. Suddenly, everyone is so proud, even people who didn't clap when you were crawling. Here's a real fact. In psychology, people experience something called implicit ego threat, meaning your growth can feel like an attack on their identity, even though you never touched them. That's why your good news has triggered panic in people who were never part of your story's solution. Your elevation didn't target them, but it dismantled the version of reality they built in their minds. You didn't confront them, correct them, or call them out. You simply outgrew them, and that alone sent their emotional Wi-Fi into airplane mode. Your good news is doing something wild behind the scenes. It's revealing motives you were never meant to see. It's forcing people to reevaluate the way they handled you, spoke about you, dismissed you, and underestimated you. Some are terrified because they now have to face the receipts of their own behavior. Some are nervous because your success means their predictions failed. And a few are shaking because the mask they used around you is starting to fall without you even touching it. What's happening around your life right now is bigger than a celebration. It's a revelation. You're stepping into a season that makes the quiet observers restless, the fake supporters anxious, and the secret saboteurs deeply uncomfortable. And trust me, they're trying to hide it. They're smiling with their mouths, but screaming with their souls. So, buckle up, because what's coming next isn't just your rise. It's the unraveling of everything and everyone who counted on your story staying small. And once your good news dropped, the game didn't just change. It ended for them. Number 1. Their fear isn't about your success. It's about losing the version of you they controlled. What truly unsettles people about your breakthrough isn't the blessing itself. It's the shift in power that comes with it. They were comfortable with the version of you who second-guessed everything, who asked for validation, who tried too hard to be understood, who explained themselves to people who were never listening. That version of you kept their ego fed. That version made them feel wise, superior, necessary, and in control of the narrative. Now that you've stepped into a season where your clarity is sharp and your confidence is rooted, they don't know how to interact with you anymore. They're losing access to the emotional buttons they used to press so easily. People tend to fear what they can no longer define. As long as they could box you in, they felt safe. They labeled you based on old seasons and convinced themselves you would live there permanently. Your growth exposes how wrong they were, and that discomfort is hitting them in places they didn't even know were fragile. They're realizing that you don't need their approval, and the moment that became clear, the power dynamic they built collapsed. It's not your victory that frightens them. It's their irrelevance in your new chapter. Your rise is forcing them to re-examine the way they treated you when they believed you would never evolve. They're remembering the mockery, the condescension, the little smirks, the whispered conversations, the patronizing advice meant to keep you beneath them. Now they're sitting with the uncomfortable truth that the version of you they spoke down to no longer exists. You didn't become a different person. You became the version of yourself they hoped you would never access. And what makes this shift even more unsettling for them is how effortlessly it happened on your end. You didn't argue your way into it. You didn't fight them for respect. You didn't try to change their minds. You simply outgrew their influence. That is what terrifies them. The undeniable evidence that they never had real control in the first place. They only had access to a temporary version of you who was still learning the strength you now walk in daily. The moment you stepped into your full identity, their grip slipped, and deep down they know it's never coming back. Number 2, your breakthrough destroys the narrative they built behind your back. Your good news didn't just elevate you, it shattered a storyline that some people crafted with full confidence, as if they were the authors of your destiny. For a long time, they felt comfortable predicting your failure. They spoke about you like they were giving commentary on a show they expected to end badly. They assumed you were too wounded, too distracted, too inexperienced, too unlikely to ever rise. They had entire conversations describing you as someone who would always be trying, always struggling, always almost making it, but never quite getting there. And the boldness was stunning, because many of these people didn't know your life beyond their assumptions. Your breakthrough is forcing them to sit with the truth that their narratives were projections, not facts. They talked with confidence, thinking they understood your limits, but your success exposed how shallow their understanding of you truly was. You didn't argue with them. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't need to correct any of the stories told about you. The reality of your growth did the correcting for you, and nothing slices through false narratives like undeniable progress. What makes this moment so powerful is that your success is happening in a way they can't refute. They can't say you got lucky because they saw the way life tried to break you. They can't say someone handed you anything because they watched you rebuild yourself from scraps. They can't downplay your progress because your results speak with a volume their whispers can't drown out. Your life is now a living contradiction to everything they confidently stated about you. And there's a certain quiet justice in that. They spent time shaping a version of your story that fit their comfort, but your breakthrough created a new chapter they never prepared for. Some of them are embarrassed, some are confused, some are scrambling to rewrite their opinions to match your new reality, and a few are pretending they always believed in your potential, even though their past comments prove otherwise. Your elevation didn't just disrupt their narrative, it invalidated the role they tried to play in your life. They thought they had you figured out. They thought they had the final say. But your growth reminded them of something they forgot. They were never the narrator. You were just quiet enough for them to think they were. Now the truth is loud, and your breakthrough is the proof ink they can't erase. Number 3, your elevation forces them to confront their own laziness and excuses. One thing people rarely admit is how much your growth bothers them because it exposes everything they've avoided in their own lives. Your elevation is like a mirror they didn't ask to look into. When you rise, they're forced to acknowledge that the same hours, the same days, the same opportunities to change were available to them too. They just didn't use them. It's easier for someone to convince themselves they're stuck because life is unfair than to see someone they once underestimated breaking barriers with consistency, discipline, and courage. What unsettles them is that your success proves that progress is possible, but it requires sacrifice. And sacrifice is something they talked about but never actually practiced. They skipped the uncomfortable work. They postponed their goals so often that postponing became part of their identity. They told themselves they were waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right level of motivation. Meanwhile, you moved forward with uncertainty, discomfort, doubt, and no applause. You did what they kept promising themselves they would start next week. Your elevation exposes that gap, the one between intention and action, and it makes them feel naked. Your growth challenges their internal narrative. They can no longer blame their stagnation on the environment, people, or timing. They're realizing that the thing holding them back isn't lack of opportunity, it's lack of discipline. And rather than admit that, some would prefer to resent your progress, because it's easier, than confronting their own choices. It's easier to say you changed than to admit they stayed the same. It's easier to minimize what you've achieved than to admit they spent years wasting time while you were quietly putting in the work. The truth is, your elevation disrupts their comfort. People often bond over shared limitations. When you break out of that circle, your progress becomes a reminder of the goals they abandoned. It becomes evidence that they didn't push themselves when they could have. You rising means they must face the uncomfortable truth that they weren't lacking ability. They were lacking effort. And that's a painful realization. This is why your success feels threatening to them. It's not jealousy, it's exposure. Your elevation removes their excuses, and when excuses disappear, accountability shows up. And accountability is something many people will do anything to avoid. Number 4, your blessing is proof that their sabotage was powerless all along. Your blessing has done something their ego never prepared them for. It exposed just how ineffective every one of their attempts truly was. They weren't scared of you succeeding. They were scared of being confronted by the evidence that they never had the power they pretended to have over your life. Every trap they set looks foolish now. Every lie they spread sounds childish. Every plan they whispered in secret circles has aged badly, because the very person they tried to break is the one rising with more strength, clarity, and favor than ever. What bothers them most is that you didn't clap back. You didn't retaliate. You didn't return the energy they threw at you. You simply kept moving, kept healing, kept rebuilding, and that makes the exposure even louder. They can no longer hide behind the excuse of, "We were just trying to help," or "You misunderstood us." Your blessing was the proof that the storm wasn't coming from outside forces. It was coming from the people who pretended to be neutral. Now they're scrambling to rewrite history because the truth is showing up in outcomes they never expected. Your elevation highlights how small their efforts truly were. While they were plotting in the shadows, life was preparing a breakthrough so bright that it swallowed every rumor, every misunderstanding, every false accusation, and every attempt to block your progress. And the irony is brutal. The very things they thought would bury you ended up fertilizing your growth. Their sabotage became the unintentional training ground that sharpened your discernment, strengthened your resilience, and forced you to stand in your identity in ways you probably wouldn't have if everything had been easy. What makes this even more humiliating for them is the timeline. They applied pressure early, thinking you would never recover. They expected you to fold, quit, or crumble years ago. Instead, the blessing came at a moment when they believed the story was already settled. That's what scares them. Your comeback wasn't predictable, scheduled, or convenient for them. It appeared suddenly, disrupting every lie they rested their confidence on. Now they're left with a bitter realization. If all their efforts combined couldn't stop what's happening for you now, they never had real power over you in the first place. Your blessing didn't just lift you. It exposed the truth that the entire war they waged against you was a battle they were never equipped to win. Number 5. Your next level reveals that they never had real power over you. The truth about your elevation is that it exposes something they never wanted you to notice. All the power they acted like they had was borrowed, exaggerated, or completely imagined. They performed authority over your life, but they never actually possessed any. They relied on your self-doubt, your innocence, your loyalty, and your desire to keep peace. As long as you questioned yourself, they appeared strong. As long as you shrunk yourself to maintain harmony, they appeared dominant. As long as you hesitated, they appeared decisive. Their power was simply the reflection of the version of you that didn't yet understand who you were built to become. Your breakthrough disrupts that illusion. Rising into your next level forces everyone who once acted above you to face the uncomfortable truth that they didn't elevate because they were superior. They elevated because you tolerated their inflated confidence. They never controlled your path. They only occupied the space you hadn't yet stepped into. And now that you've stepped fully into yourself, their authority evaporates like it was held together by air. Your success shows that what kept you grounded wasn't their influence or their limitations. It was your own patience, your own humility, and your own journey of self-discovery. The moment you understood your resilience, their intimidation stopped working. The moment you recognized your intelligence, their manipulation lost its grip. The moment you became aligned with your spiritual identity, their opinions stopped mattering. That switch alone was enough to break the illusion they performed for years. What makes this hit them so deeply is how effortlessly the illusion collapsed. They spent so much time trying to look superior, through titles, loudness, fake confidence, subtle threats, or emotional games, only to realize none of it could compete with actual inner strength. The very things they mocked in you, your quietness, your kindness, your sensitivity, your introspection, are the same qualities that shape the version of you they can't handle today. Your next level didn't give you power, it revealed that you always had it. You just stopped giving it away, and now they have to face a truth their ego can barely handle. The role they played in your life wasn't dominance, it was temporary relevance, and now that you've elevated, they can no longer pretend they were ever in control. Number 6. Your success makes their secret competition look ridiculous. One of the funniest and most revealing parts of your elevation is how it exposes people who thought they were competing with you. They crafted entire mental tournaments you never signed up for. They compared lifestyles, achievements, relationships, money, attention, all while you were just trying to survive, heal, or focus on your own lane. They turned your existence into a scoreboard, and now that your life has shifted upward, their private rivalry looks painfully childish. Your success forces them to confront how one-sided their competition truly was. While they were secretly monitoring your progress, you weren't even thinking about them. You were focused on growing, not racing. You were becoming, not comparing. You were fighting internal battles they knew nothing about. In their minds, they expected to beat you in a race you never even showed up to run. And what makes it even more embarrassing is that the very person they thought they were ahead of is now making moves they never saw coming. Their obsession is being exposed in real time. The sudden coldness, the awkward silence, the forced smiles, the unnecessary comments, all signs that your success hit an emotional bruise they tried to pretend didn't exist. They wanted you below them because that made their life choices feel validated. Your rise disrupts that comfort. It challenges everything they used to reassure themselves that they were doing better. Now they have to sit with the fact that the person they mentally placed beneath them has passed milestones they didn't even prepare for. Your success makes it obvious that they weren't competing to grow, they were competing to feel superior. The problem is that superiority built on comparison collapses the moment the comparison shifts, and your breakthrough shifted it. Now the efforts they made to keep up, impress others, or stay ahead look unnecessary and out of place. Your progress reveals how much energy they wasted trying to be the main character in a story that wasn't theirs. The truth is, they were never your rivals. They were spectators pretending their presence affected your journey. They were background noise acting like they shaped the plot. And now that your success is unfolding publicly, their secret competition has been dragged into the light, and it looks small, desperate, and deeply unimportant. Your rise didn't just elevate you, it exposed the fact that the real race was always between them and their own insecurity. You simply outgrew the track. Number 7. Your progress forces them to admit you were never the problem. Your elevation has done something that arguments, explanations, and emotional breakdowns could never achieve. It has forced people to confront a truth they spent years avoiding. You were never the issue. You were never the unstable one. You were never the one who needed to calm down, grow up, or be more realistic. You were simply surrounded by individuals who were more invested in keeping you small than helping you thrive. Your growth didn't change who you are. It revealed who they were the entire time. For years, they benefited from mislabeling you. Calling you dramatic made it easier for them to dismiss your concerns. Saying you were too emotional allowed them to ignore the ways they mistreated you. Painting you as difficult helped them escape accountability for their own behavior. These labels weren't descriptions. They were shields. They used them to protect their ego and justify their role in the dysfunction. But now that you've grown, healed, matured, and stepped into clarity, those excuses look thin, tired, and dishonest. Your progress pulls the curtain back on everything they tried to hide. The same traits they criticized, your alertness, your intuition, your sensitivity, your refusal to settle, are now the traits pushing you forward. Your resilience is visible. Your mindset is stronger. Your decisions are wiser. You've become the version of yourself they never expected you to reach, and now they must face the reality that the problem wasn't you. It was their inability to handle someone evolving. What unsettles them most is how your progress reveals the truth without you saying a word. You don't have to defend yourself anymore. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth or explain your perspective. Your life itself is the evidence. And that evidence is uncomfortable for people who built their identity around the belief that you were beneath them, broken, or incapable. Your growth forces them to acknowledge something they fought hard to deny. They weren't helping you. They were holding you back. They weren't guiding you. They were limiting you. They weren't protecting you. They were protecting their ability to feel superior. And now that you've outgrown their box, they can no longer hide behind the labels they once used so confidently. Your progress didn't just elevate you, it exposed them. It stripped away the excuses, the stories, and the projections, leaving one undeniable truth on the table. You were never the problem. They were simply too invested in keeping you from discovering your own potential. Number 8. Your good news resets the power dynamics permanently. Your breakthrough didn't just move you forward, it rewired every relationship, every unspoken agreement, and every hidden power structure that once dictated your life. For a long time, certain people felt safe because they believed you needed them. They believed you required their approval, their money, their connections, their advice, or even their emotional support to function. That dependence, whether real or imagined, gave them a sense of authority they were never meant to have. But the moment your good news arrived, that entire structure collapsed like it was built from matchsticks. Your leveling up removed the leverage they held. Emotional leverage? Gone, because you've healed wounds they used to press on. Financial leverage? Gone, because you're no longer functioning from scarcity or desperation. Psychological leverage? Completely gone, because you've learned to trust your own voice instead of theirs, and that shift has left them unsettled in ways they cannot articulate. They're not panicking because you changed. They're panicking because your change exposed how dependent they were on your dependence. For years, they acted like the authority. They acted like the guide. They acted like the protector. But your next level made something painfully clear. They weren't supporting you. They were anchoring you. And now that the anchor is cut, you've drifted into a territory where their influence has no meaning. You're not operating from survival anymore. You're operating from strength. And strength changes the entire dynamic. Your good news showed them something they never wanted to admit. The only reason they felt powerful was because you hadn't yet realized your own capacity. You were playing small because you were learning, healing, or simply surviving. They mistook that phase for your ceiling, and now they're paying the emotional price for underestimating you. What really unsettles them is how calmly the shift happened. You didn't confront them. You didn't declare your independence. You didn't announce your transformation. You simply grew beyond the space where their influence worked. That's what terrifies them, the quietness of your evolution. One day, the power dynamic made sense to them. The next day, it didn't, and they can't figure out how they lost control without a fight. Your good news didn't just elevate you. It ended an era where they could predict your moves, manipulate your emotions, or influence your self-perception. Now you're standing in a place they cannot reach, dictate, or distort. The hierarchy has shifted permanently, and this time the power sits exactly where it always should have been, with you. Number 9. Your breakthrough proves they misjudged you on a fundamental level. Your elevation is confronting people with a truth their pride never wanted to acknowledge. They misjudged you so deeply that your breakthrough feels like a personal insult to their intelligence. They weren't just a little off. They were completely wrong about who you were, what you carried, and what you were capable of. And that's what burns them the most. People can swallow being wrong about details, but being wrong about an entire human being, that hits their ego in a place they didn't know was tender. They thought they had you figured out. They built assumptions around your quietness, your humility, your setbacks, your struggles, your silence, or even your season of rebuilding. They confused your temporary low moments for your permanent capacity. They assumed your challenges were proof you were weak. They mistook your patience for passivity. They interpreted your sensitivity as fragility. Every conclusion they made about you came from a shallow understanding of your depth. And now your breakthrough has exposed how poorly they were reading you the entire time. Your rise forces them to confront another uncomfortable truth. Their perception of you was never about you. It was a projection of their own insecurities, fears, jealousy, and limitations. They couldn't see your strength because they had none of their own to compare it to. They couldn't recognize your potential because their mind wasn't familiar with growth. They couldn't acknowledge your resilience because it highlighted their lack of it. The problem was never your character. It was their inability to see beyond the version of you that made them feel comfortable. Your breakthrough is the kind of progress that rewrites everything they believed. It challenges the lies they told themselves about you. It interrupts the stories they spread about you. It exposes the bias that shaped their view of you. And the worst part for them is that there's no logical explanation for why they misjudged you so badly. They can't blame the environment, misunderstandings, or miscommunication. They have to admit the truth. They overlooked you because it was convenient. They underestimated you because it was easy. They dismissed you because the real you threatened their sense of superiority. Now your success stands there as undeniable evidence, not only of your capability, but of their blindness. And nothing bruises the ego like realizing the person they thought would stay behind is now miles ahead. Your breakthrough didn't just elevate you, it exposed their inability to recognize greatness even when it was right in front of them. Number 10. Your new season exposes their hidden intentions in high definition. What you're experiencing right now is not just growth, it's clarity. A level of clarity so sharp that it slices through every mask, every half-smile, every polite lie that used to pass as support. Your new season didn't just elevate you, it illuminated everyone around you with a brightness they can no longer hide from. And the truth is, some people were only comfortable when your life was dim enough for their intentions to blend in. When you rise, people stop acting. They start revealing. That's the part nobody warns you about. The same individuals who once said, "I'm here for you," with their mouths had a completely different message hiding in their silence. You can tell now who clapped only when it was safe, who congratulated you with a tone that didn't match their eyes, and who suddenly became busy the moment your blessings started lining up in ways they didn't expect. Your success didn't change them, it exposed them. There's a reason elevation feels lonely at first. It's not because you're alone, it's because your vision sharpened. You started seeing the micro-behaviors most people ignore, the delay before they respond to good news, the quick change of topic, the forced smile that doesn't reach their energy. You started noticing who only supports you when it costs them nothing, and who retreats the moment your shine threatens their quiet ego. Your new season makes motives visible in crystal clear definition. The subtle envy that used to hide behind fake encouragement. Now it's obvious. The hidden competition they tried to disguise as concern. Now it's undeniable. The individuals who prayed for your stability but not your success, their intentions can't survive the light you're walking in. Even their silence has become a confession. What's happening is simple. You're outgrowing the spaces where people could hide their true feelings. Elevation is a spotlight, and you didn't ask for it, but it's shining anyway. The people who genuinely care for you will glow in that light. The rest will glitch, distort, and reveal details you couldn't see before. And here's the deeper truth. Your success didn't corrupt their intentions, it clarified them. The energy was always there. Your growth just removed their places to hide. Now you know exactly who was rooting for you, who was tolerating you, and who was secretly hoping you'd stay exactly where you were. You're not just rising, you're discerning. And that's why this season is so powerful. It's not just a breakthrough, it's a revelation. Every intention around you is coming into focus, and for the first time, you can see the truth without distortion. Your elevation is your filter, and the right people will remain clear while everyone else fades into the background where they always belonged. Number 11. Your blessing reveals who was invested in your failure. There's a certain kind of silence that only comes when your life starts going right, the kind that feels heavy, delayed, and strangely reactive. That silence isn't confusion, nor is it surprise. It's exposure. Your blessing didn't just elevate you, it spotlighted everyone who was secretly invested in your downfall. And the uncomfortable shift you're sensing around you is not about your success, it's about their cover being blown. Some people were not watching your life out of love, concern, or curiosity. They were monitoring you like a stock they were praying would crash, quietly hoping your struggles would validate their assumptions, their envy, or their sense of superiority. The more you suffered, the more right they felt about who they believed you were. Your setbacks fed their ego. Your pain confirmed their predictions. Your limitations kept them comfortable. So when the blessing came, when the door opened, when the opportunity hit, when the breakthrough unfolded, they weren't just shocked, they were exposed. Your success dragged their true intentions into the light without you saying a single word. Because someone who is truly for you doesn't get uncomfortable when you rise, they expand with you. But someone who was invested in your failure suffocates the moment you catch momentum. Your blessing became a mirror they can't escape. It reflects their motives with painful accuracy. Suddenly, the ones who used to watch your every move are quiet. Suddenly, the ones who had endless commentary about your mistakes have nothing to say. Suddenly, the ones who were always available during your lows are nowhere to be found during your highs. Their absence isn't coincidence. It's confession. The reason they look nervous isn't because your success is overwhelming. It's because their intentions were never pure, and now it shows. They're scared you will finally recognize their role in your life. They're scared you will identify their envy, their subtle sabotage, their hidden satisfaction whenever you struggled. And most of all, they're scared you now have the clarity and confidence to outgrow them. Your blessing didn't make them uncomfortable. It unmasked them. And the truth is, you never needed to confront them. You never needed to argue or prove anything. Your growth did all the talking. Your elevation carried every receipt. Your breakthrough became the evidence they hoped would never surface. The season you're stepping into is bigger than success. It's revelation. God didn't just bless you, He exposed them. And now you finally see who was waiting for you to win, and who was quietly praying you wouldn't. Number 12. Your growth removes their favorite excuse: you need me. There are people who never supported you because they loved you. They supported you because it made them feel important. They weren't helping you to uplift you. They were helping you to anchor you. As long as you stayed a little confused, a little dependent, a little unsure of yourself, they felt valuable. Your struggles were their stage. Your uncertainty was their spotlight. Your limits were their leverage. That's why your growth stings them more than you expected. It's not the progress that bothers them. It's the loss of control. Your growth dismantles the identity they built around being your rescuer, your guide, your only option. They liked the version of you that constantly needed explanations, reassurance, and rescue missions. It kept them relevant. It kept them superior. It kept them feeling like the wise one in the room. But once you started evolving, once you gained clarity, confidence, stability, and self-direction, something shifted. They didn't see your growth as a win. They saw it as a threat, because now they can't play hero. They can't play savior. They can't play the one who knows better. Your independence stripped them of the emotional job they gave themselves, the one they never told you about but acted out in every interaction. Your growth shows a version of you they hoped would never appear, a version that stands on their own feet, makes their own choices, and breathes without asking permission. And suddenly their favorite line, "You need me," dissolves. They can't use it to guilt you. They can't use it to manipulate you. They can't use it to force gratitude or dependence. Your elevation rewrote the entire script they relied on. That's why some people pull away when you level up. It's not jealousy. It's displacement. They don't know who they are when they can't control you. They don't know how to relate when they can't guide you. They don't know how to function when they're not the helpful one. Their ego depended on your brokenness more than you ever knew. Your growth didn't just change your life, it changed your position in their life. And that shift exposes everything: who wanted you to rise, who needed you to stay small, and who only felt valuable when you were struggling. You never needed them. They needed you to need them. And once that illusion broke, their influence broke with it. Number 13. Your elevation confirms that you never needed their approval to prosper. Your breakthrough didn't just bless your life, it shattered an entire belief system built around their importance. There were people who genuinely thought your future depended on their validation. They believed their approval was the green light you needed before taking a step. They assumed their opinions were the compass you relied on. They were convinced their applause or silence could shape your destiny. But your elevation arrived without their permission, without their support, and without their blessing. And that's exactly why they're rattled. Your success exposes something they never wanted to acknowledge. Their words never held the power they imagined. They acted like gatekeepers to a door they didn't even build. They behaved like your destiny needed their signature, when in reality, your journey was never in their hands. The moment you rose without asking for their input, their entire fantasy of being needed or central to your growth collapsed. Your life moved forward while their expectations stayed behind, and nothing threatens insecure people more than irrelevance. Their fear isn't about your achievement, It's about what your achievement reveals. It shows that the limits they placed on you were projections, not prophecy. The doubts they planted were reflections, not reality. The discouragement they offered was rooted in their own small-mindedness, not your potential. Your elevation exposes all of this with painful clarity, and it forces them to admit they were never as influential as they pretended to be. What truly terrifies them is that your success makes their opinions look powerless in hindsight. Every time they told you to slow down, you sped up. Every time they said you weren't ready, you proved you were overqualified. Every time they tried to intimidate you with criticism, you grew thicker skin and sharper vision. You thrived without a single ounce of their validation. And that's a bruise to their ego they can't hide. Your rise confirms something profound. Approval is optional, but purpose is unstoppable. And once you tapped into who you were truly meant to be, no human opinion could interfere. Your elevation didn't just take you to the next level. It stripped their words of the authority they never had in the first place. They're not just watching your success, they're watching the collapse of the imaginary power they thought they held over you. Number 14. Your rise signals something they can't stop. Momentum. Your breakthrough shook them, but the momentum you're stepping into is what truly terrifies them. A breakthrough can be dismissed as luck, timing, or coincidence. Momentum can't. Momentum means the universe has shifted in your favor. Momentum means you're not just rising, you're accelerating. Momentum means the story has moved from setbacks to steady victories, from surviving to advancing, from hoping to possessing, and they feel it. They feel that your life is no longer in the place where a single obstacle could slow you down. What disturbs them is that this isn't a one-time win. It's the beginning of a pattern. Your energy has changed, your clarity has sharpened, your spirit has aligned. The direction of your life has switched lanes, and the lane you're in now doesn't have traffic restrictions or gatekeepers. You're moving with a speed that can't be engineered by human hands and can't be stopped by human plans. Your rise is no longer tied to favorable circumstances. It's tied to destiny itself. That's why they're nervous. They don't just see your present, they see your future forming, and there's nothing they can do to slow it. They always preferred you in a phase where you had to recover, rebuild, or restart. Those seasons gave them comfort because they were predictable. But momentum makes you unpredictable. It removes the pause button they use to rely on. It means you can take a loss and still gain ground. It means setbacks don't knock you backward. They catapult you forward. Once someone enters a momentum season, every move becomes multiplied, every effort becomes amplified, and every small decision produces oversized results. And that is the part your enemies can't handle. Your good news was the announcement. Your momentum is the warning. It tells them that the version of you they once knew will never return. It tells them that the limitations they placed on you have expired. It tells them that the environment where they underestimated you is too small for where you're going. Momentum shifts the entire ranking system. People who once felt above you now see themselves slipping into the background. What's happening in your life is bigger than a win. It's a chain reaction, a divine rhythm, a season where everything aligns faster than they can interfere. They're not afraid of your success. They're afraid of the unstoppable wave behind it. And once momentum begins, the only thing left for them to do is watch you become the version of yourself they never believed you'd reach. At the end of all these revelations, one truth stands out above everything else. Your good news didn't just announce a new chapter, it exposed the entire story that came before it. Your rise revealed what was real, what was hidden, what was false, and what was waiting to be uncovered. Every blessing you received became a spotlight, illuminating motives, intentions, and dynamics that were buried under years of silence, assumptions, and manipulation. Your elevation didn't just transform your life, it unveiled the truth about everyone connected to your journey. Your breakthroughs uncovered the traps that never worked. Your success exposed the competition you never signed up for. Your progress revealed who benefited from you staying small. Your growth shattered the systems built around your dependence. Your elevation proved you never needed their approval. And your momentum announced that this is just the beginning, not the peak, not the limit, not the final act. Every win you're stepping into now carries a ripple effect, stretching into days, seasons, and opportunities that your enemies have no access to and no influence over. The beauty of your rise is not only that you made it, but that you made it without relying on the people who tried to hold you back. Your story testifies that sabotage loses power when purpose is involved. Your destiny was never shaped by their opinions, their agendas, or their assumptions. It was shaped by your resilience, your clarity, your faith, your evolution, and your unwavering refusal to stay confined to the version of yourself others preferred. Yes, your elevation is uncomfortable for them, but it's liberating for you. You're stepping into a space where your voice carries weight, your presence demands respect, your gifts hit new levels, and your life aligns with a rhythm they can't interrupt. Their fear is simply confirmation that you've crossed a threshold they thought you'd never reach. Their silence, their panic, their confusion. All of it is proof that the real power was with you all along. And now, as you move forward, understand this. Your rise isn't slowing down. The momentum is real. The shift is permanent. The chapter you're stepping into is rooted in clarity, strength, and divine timing. Keep walking, keep ascending, keep expanding. You've earned this moment, and everything ahead is aligned to honor the journey you pushed through. If this message resonated deeply with you, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment sharing your perspective, and share it with someone who needs this clarity today. Your support helps this community grow, and together we'll continue diving into deeper truths that empower, strengthen, and elevate your path. Stay blessed, stay rising, and stay unstoppable. God bless you.